Okay, thanks. Of course, trouble coming third is your thunder's already roared. To understand what we face in the future, we need to be pretty honest about how we've ended up where we are now. I mean, Richard's absolutely right. The people are furious, and they're right to be furious. They've been lied to. They were told this was just about trade and economics. In fact, the EU was an epoch-changing project aimed at major constitutional and political change, and that fraud is slowly emerging as we try to extract ourselves from the UK. They were also misled, of course, at the time of Lisbon into believing that this greater integration that Lisbon was bringing about, that if it went too far, you could always leave. Well, just have a look at Article 50. Those who looked at it at the time thought it was unusable, and I think it's proving to be so, and it's one of the reasons we're stuck where we are. It's unusable. Why? Well, because it's a method which means both sides must harm themselves. And the only way one side can reduce harm to itself is by inflicting more harm on the other side. And you're surprised that we can't get sensible agreements here. The Europeans are not denying the Brits what they want because they're bloody minded. They're denying it to them because it would harm their own people, and we're stuck in the same bind on the other side. Article 50 is also pretty unusual as well because we've got to agree to leave before we know where we're going. I mean, as matters stand, we could end up with a sort of Norwegian Brexit, a Brino. We could end up with Canada with a plus or another plus or a few more pluses if it makes you happier. Or we could end up trading under WTO rules. The fact of the matter is we just don't know, and yet we're being asked to decide. The result of all that is there's almost no rational basis for deciding one way or the other. In the short term, there are all those possible options of, a Norwegian through to a Canadian through to a WTO. In the longer term, there's no way we can know 10 years down the road what the world will look like. I mean, who knows, Europe may have gone to hell in a handcart and we may be glad we're out of it. On the other hand, it may have had huge successes and we'll be sorry we're not in there. But can we tell? No, we can't. So the fact is that there's not much rationality at work here, and there can't be, but there are too many unknowns. The other thing that I think is fouling it up is that, of course, what I would call the strange bedfellows. Both on the leave side and the remain side, you have economic liberals and economic protectionists. You have Patrick Minford going around the country saying, look, we don't want trade deals, it's okay. We'll simply take down all the barriers to trade in the UK. That way we'll be able to go out and get the best bargain anywhere in the world for any goods or services that we need. That will give us a huge advantage in the global economy. We've become terribly rich. You've got people like Liz Truss saying much the same thing. However, you've got Mr. Gove going around telling the farmers, oh, we're going to continue to subsidise you. Oh, we know that industry won't do too well. We're going to give you more state subsidies. Well, protectionists, global traders, I'm not sure. And of course, you have the same on the Remain side. You have Philip Hammond, who clearly believes in expanded global trade and just thinks that as we have good trading relations with the EU and with other countries as a result, it's a step backwards to give them up. We should bank those and go on further through the EU. But equally, we have people like the TUC who see the EU as a bastion of protectionism. So on both sides, you've got people who have conflicting, indeed completely conflicting views.